Let's talk about the college, kind of the college hacking component, because you were able to kind of carry some of those lessons learned, my understanding is, and figure out a room and board situation at your college as well. I'd love to hear a little bit about, what you did and how that affected your cost of college and your experience.
Yeah, so just to clarify, I have since graduated, but I actually didn't do the RA route. If I could go back, I wish I could. Now, in terms of like after graduation, and now I'm working post college, I live in Chicago, and one of the universities here offers basically a live in housing director that doesn't necessarily have to be working at the university. So, to clarify, at other institutions, this position would be called like residence hall director, where one person has to be working as the residence hall director and then they can have like a partner or a spouse live with them. Whereas in this position, the difference is one person. The person doesn't have to be working as a residence hall director. They could be affiliated as a full time student or as a faculty member doing something else. So we have people in the role, working as nurses in the university hospital, or they can be like operations people. As long as you're a faculty member or a staff member at this university, you can apply for this quote unquote residence hall director position equivalent. So that's like the difference from this institution than other institutions.
Just to clarify, I want to clarify, this is not a college hack per se as much as a living and residence hack. Is that accurate?
It's a living in residence hack, yes. Yeah, it's confusing to explain to people because of the aspect of when you think of residence hall director, like that's your job, but my job isn't residence hall director. My title is resident head, but I'm not affiliated to the university. Like my partner is a full-time student, but they're also, full-time working somewhere else in Chicago. And then our boss is the residence hall director. Another way to explain it is like there's a residence hall director and then there's the RA. The RA usually reports to the residence hall director. We're the in between. So RAs report to us and then we report to the residence hall director. But the whole point of our position is just to be like real working adults for college students to like ask for guidance.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that was the part that I actually wanted to see if this is replicable, basically, for other people in the FI community. So, clearly there's RA as an undergrad, right? And you can be an RA. It depends on the college. Some give room and board, some give, just free housing. But, that's going to depend on the college. I think a lot of us are familiar with that. This live-in housing director, totally separate thing. I've never heard of this before, frankly. So this is awesome. Like, I mean, you're an, original member of the ChooseFI community. You know the kind of hacks that we love here. Is this something that other people theoretically could do? Is this just at this one university, to your knowledge? Like, I love that concept of having live-in adults, right? Like, that's really neat. But again, I've never heard of that before. Like, can you give some flavor on if you've heard of other schools doing this?
Yeah, so this school is one of the only ones that I know of so far. It might be called something else at other institutions. And if you were to go to other institutions, then the job would be that would be your job, residence hall director. And then you could have a partner who does something else. So in that sense, it's replicable. It's kind of like if you want something for free, you should do it for work. I'm a fitness trainer, for example. I get free gym memberships if I like apply to be one of their fitness trainers, something like that. So in this example, if I want free housing, I would go to an institution that offered housing and work that as my job.
Yeah, and I think I remember Liz from Frugal Woods. I believe it was Liz talking about she wanted to do yoga, but it was extraordinarily expensive. So she was able to volunteer in some capacity and wind up getting her monthly membership for free. So that's what it reminds me of when you're talking about, the fitness and such. And I just love that, you have a master's in engineering and, you're a graduate, you obviously have a real job. And I mean, this is a way to house hack. It's brilliant. I mean, and like you said, it goes back generations. Your grandma is house hacking in the Philippines. I mean, it's remarkable to see these threads. And I love that you're constantly on the lookout for these little hacks. So yeah, this is an awesome one.
And so I am fascinated by this as well. Again, with Brad, echo his sentiments. I've never heard of this before. I am just wondering generally about like who is this for? And for you, like, what's the appeal? Is this like a stepping stone stage thing? Or is this like, I hope not anybody else finds out about this because I'm gonna keep doing this forever type thing?
Right. What's the end game, right? Like that's
Yeah, like what's the end game here? So, is there compensate so I would imagine it's room and board, is it meals, is it compensation on top of that? Are there hourly duty? Like I'm just trying to get a sense for how much of your world does this consume, but it sounds like you can have another career or job on top of this pretty handily and you're just getting they're asking you to be there with these benefits just to be an adult in the place, for some level of perpetuity. Give me a sense for like your assessment of this now having done this for a bit.
Yeah, so room and board is covered, food is covered, utilities covered. And in terms of responsibilities, we basically do programming. We're given a budget every quarter for the students to do programming, and we do get a stipend on top of that. And because it's part time, we can have full time jobs outside of this. So I'm working full time in Salesforce. I have like volunteering on the side and a few other positions, but yeah, and I can bring this all back to the students and say, "Hey, this is some real world experience that I have, and I'm like a bridge between you and adulthood."
that's so cool. And this might be a stupid question, but it is 12 months a year, right? You're not getting kicked out during the summer.
No, not that I'm aware of. Yeah, we're here in the summer.
That'll be a
They
rude
turn off
awakening.
the heat and the AC in Chicago, but we're still here. No, that's amazing. Wow, dude.
That's really cool.
So full-time career and free living cost, and they have a good. Do
Free
they
food,
free
free
food?
utilities,
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in
free
a 10
gym.
by 10 square of a room, then well, I guess for some minimalists, that's even a thing as well. But I mean, assuming your accommodations or how do you feel about your accommodations? Would you give them is this feel like a basement house hack, or do you feel like you're taken care of pretty well?
Let's just say we're taken care of very well.
Wow.
Yes,
Nice.
we're in a new building, so
Wow. Awesome. Okay. We're going to move this ship along, but what is the actual title? And like, if someone were to go to random college to see if they had something like this, what would be like the buzzwords that they would look for?
so the title officially is resident head, but the equivalent at other institutions, because resident head is pretty specific to mine, the title would be residence hall director. And the caveat difference is residence hall director is your job. Your full-time job is being a residence hall director, despite all the perks that come with it, being able to live there, getting the food, all that stuff. Your job is residence hall director. Whereas with my job, you can be affiliated as a full-time student or as a staff member working somewhere else at the institution, and you can also be doing resident head.
So Denison's got a pretty nice setup, and we're not going to, if you're interested in residence head, why don't you just use the wonderful World Wide Web and see what universities offer residence head positions, and you can then see if you can dig something up. Be creative, people. Get Googling.